Hey, welcome to the Churchfront Show. Today we're talking about Resy. What is Resy, and is it worth it for church live streaming? And who better to chat with us about it than the guys from Resy? So we've got Daniel and we've got Nate in the Churchfront studio here to chat with us, with us and you guys too as well. Feel free to leave any questions or comments there in the live chat here on YouTube. And let's just dive in. So how about you guys? Let's go ahead. Nate, start with you. Introduce yourself and what's your role at Resy?
Yeah, I'm Nate Anderson, Marketing Director at Resy. And it's been kind of an evolution of my role over the past few years, but started out just because my church used Resy back in, I think it was 2018 now. But we were, having a lot of issues with streaming our subs and looking for, a better option. And so we moved to Resy, and then we were a much smaller company actually back then. And then since then, obviously, even in just the past year, have grown dramatically from that.
Yeah. And how about you, Daniel?
Yeah, so I have been at Resy for about 7 months now and am the content marketing manager. So I really have enjoyed coming into the Resy team, really from being able to get our church on the Resy platform. And, they had been on the radar for a long time. And fortunately, we were able to switch just before COVID hit. And so, we found ourselves very fortunate. And then, who wouldn't want to join Resy? So,
yeah. So first question, though, for people watching that have never heard of it, what is Resy?
Yeah. Well, Resy, we started, again, just like I mentioned, we started out of a church ourselves just because we had tried every solution to stream reliably on the internet. And at the end of the day had found out that, it really wasn't even the fault of many of the streaming providers we were using. It was just the fact of the architecture of the internet that at the end of the day, it's just a mess of wires running all around the world, or, potentially soon in the case of Starlink, a mirror to the internet or mirror to the, space. But, at any point along the way, you've got packet loss that you're dealing with. And so it's how do you overcome that? And do you just say, hey, it's going to happen and we're going to have, packet loss between us and wherever we're sending our data? Or do we say, hey, we know we're going to have internet issues, we know we're going to have packet loss, and let's account for it, and let's still have a reliable, high-quality stream regardless of that. And so that's kind of the approach that we took with it.
Awesome. I'm just looking in the chat. Someone said audio trouble, but I don't know if that's true. I'm listening back to the stream right now. Sounds great to me. So I'm not sure what they're talking about there. Yeah, let us know, guys, if you have any troubles here. We're obviously building this studio, kind of building the plane as we fly it, so to speak, right?
So it's beautiful, by the way.
Yeah. Thank you.
Super cool space.
Thank you. Yeah. And this is the first time having like real guests to the Churchfront Show in person. So that's fun. We're going to have a setup also so we can have like a Zoom guest here or something like that, pipe the audio in. It's fun to take a lot of the things we've learned about church live streaming and then kind of implement it here. Because as you guys know, church live streaming is a pretty demanding environment, all the different moving parts you got to get put together. So help folks kind of appreciate or understand and appreciate a little bit more about that encoding process. Because I guess when I think of Resy, and the reason I like using it, we're actually using it right now. If you guys compare the difference between this stream, this is the first time we are streaming on the Churchfront Show with Resy compared to, the last episode was pre-recorded, so that doesn't count. But a couple episodes before, we would stream with Ecamm Live, and you would be able to like see how it was kind of grainy and the quality was kind of degraded. That's why I like Resy, because I feel like the quality that we're getting here, and hopefully you guys can see on YouTube, like it's sharp, the audio sounds really clear. Can you just explain?
It sounds delicious.
A little bit more? Great. Someone says it sounds delicious. Can you explain a little bit more?
That's an audio term.
What's going on there, and then why does that matter for churches? The encoding process, and then maybe talk about like the even delivery process as well.
Yeah. I mean, at the heart of it, we're all church tech nerds ourselves. So we've been in the background. We know what we want and what we like and what we don't like, right? And so whenever we've designed something, it's always been in mind of, hey, let's not just do something that's going to be, cool or be efficient or whatever. It's going to be what is going to be the highest quality stream with the best engagement and the best, people will engage longer when it's higher quality, when there's not buffering that they have to deal with. So, the technology, what it allows us to do actually, and not a lot of people know this, but, when you are streaming on a typical internet connection, you're choosing a bit rate that you're streaming at. And if you're using Resi's technology, or what we have enabled people to be able to do is actually stream at higher bit rates, because you might not be comfortable streaming at 5-6 megabits per second or whatever for a video stream on a typical internet connection. But if you're dealing with a buffer where we have this cached system, which you can read about on our website, but allows us to make sure that 100% of that content is perfect to the cloud.
Pull up that website, because I want people to see your website and visualize this, because it's easier to think of like what our cache is and all these different protocols going on. But I think go to YResi page there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it visualizes this very well.
Our very annoying pop-up there.
So sorry to...
Yeah, so this is actually something, Daniel, you built this, I think, right?
I
This
did.
little animation. Yeah, so this was like a game changer for us. We were like, dude, I need you to like actually visualize a concept that is very difficult, and he did a great job with it. We were like, just needs to look like liquid.
Can you zoom in on that a little bit more?
It's
On this guy or the?
On the cool animation.
On the animation,
that right there.
that
man.
Daniel spent
So scroll over.
hundreds of hours on.
My first 7 months at Resi were spent on that.
Oh, that's weird. Why it won't let you? Chrome won't let you scroll
This
scroll
is this
over.
new MacBook that I haven't adjusted yet.
2-finger scroll. It won't let you do it. Weird.
Interesting.
All right, scroll back out. You guys
Anyway.
can see it if you're watching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that's the way typical RTMP works. Is it's a laser beam, so it's a single stream of data, right? And that's what Ecamm uses. That's what really anything else uses and relies on. It's a protocol that was built for flash streaming about 20 years ago, and it works if there's no interruptions in your data. It works if there's no no packet loss. But the second that there is packet loss and you have those kind of gaps missing, then that's when you have missing information when it comes to the cloud. And so what we did, and when I say we, some really smart guys that started the company, that was before I came along, but they said, hey, let's not try to say we're going to hope that we have a perfect connection 100% of the time. Let's actually say we know we're not. And so it saves 100% of that data at the encoder, and then it saves 100% of that data at the cloud. And then we make sure that all of that data that's in the cache makes it to the cloud perfectly before the viewer sees it. So
Show them that again, Adam. So I want everybody to, because everybody, we even saw in the chat, like, what is Resi? Okay, so Resi is both an encoding and a, what do you call this? Is it a CDN or no? Am I getting that wrong?
yeah, it's CDN. That's a good way of putting it.
What was it called?
Content Delivery Network.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you produce a video of your church's live stream, it's going to come out of, let's say you're using an ATEM video switcher, right? You get the program feed coming out. You got to encode that in some way so that it's compressed enough, right, to be delivered online, but not too much that you degrade quality and have issues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then you just got to also make sure that you have to kind of deal with any issues with internet connectivity as well, because with RTMP, looking at that image there that they have, it's sending just those like individual packets, right?
Yep.
Like straight from the source to the CDN.
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly. Yep.
And if the internet connection drops out, I've had this happen to me before with like Ecamm or other streaming software, OBS,
Yeah.
vMix, Wirecast, you name it, right? Like it's just going to completely like kill the stream.
Right.
Okay. So then, but with RSP, Resilient Streaming Protocol, I like that. You still have the image up there. Yeah. I like how it's basically you have this 1 to 2 minute delay, 90 seconds, is it?
Yep.
About 90 seconds, yeah.
So you guys watching the stream right now or listening, we are 90 seconds in the future right now. So
Hello,
everything's
time traveling.
everything's pretty cool in the future right now, but it's a delay, and maybe we could talk about like what are some downsides of a delay like that. I think in most church environments there's not much of a delay.
Yeah.
But you have the delay because you can see in the graphic there that little rectangle with the Resi logo on it. It's basically sending your video data there and doing all the fancy things whoever the software engineer who built this designed it to do. Like it kind of caches it there. That's what that's called, right? A cache.
Yep, absolutely.
And then once 90 seconds of it gets in the cache, then it starts to get delivered to your destination.
Right.
So if between the source of your video and the cache, you lose internet connection for even up to 5 seconds, up to 90 seconds,
You could, yeah.
right?
You can actually unplug the Ethernet cable from the encoder.
And I've done that before.
We don't we always say try it sometimes. Not like during a church, just in case your ISP
Right.
decides to
Not
do
during a
funny
mission
things,
critical stream.
But yeah, you can theoretically just unplug your Ethernet cable for up to 90 seconds and you'd be fine.
Yeah, but it'll still go because it's working off that cache. And then eventually, though, you don't want to have it unplugged for more than 90 seconds because then the cache will kind of run out of
Right.
source video or whatever
Right.
you call it.
But actually, what's cool too is, and we ran into this back, with like the level 3 outage that happened last year. Like, typical packet loss that happens all the time. But like, and just even being able to send at a higher bit rate, like I was talking about, a high quality, like that's really important to us, and we want to do that 100% of the time. So it's going to be better quality, better, 100% of the time. But then on those, 5 to 10% of times or whatever, where you do have a catastrophic failure, like the level 3 outage that happened last year, even if it does die for longer than 90 seconds too, it'll actually just start up from wherever it left off. So no missing data gets there by the time it gets to the cloud.
Wow. Tell us more about this level 3 failure. I don't
Yeah, the
think I've ever...
CenturyLink outage that happened last year,
Oh.
conveniently on a Sunday, and had a bunch of church people scrambling.
Oh,
Yes.
I do remember. So that was a CenturyLink issue. That was that back like when right after the pandemic hit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
like half the internet goes down.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll just say the internet was under strain that day.
yeah.
Second Sunday
Yeah.
in the pandemic. or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah, but we wrote a blog about it too. It was cool. We had a lot of churches. We've always said this, and we kind of had to put our money where our mouth was on that day, because we always said, hey, if something catastrophic does happen, pull out your cell phone or pull out 4G or whatever, and just switch over to that. And we had a lot of people doing
lot
that.
of churches
and,
did that.
Yeah, and they were still able to stream perfectly while
Well, and I think
lot
one
of
of the
stuff was going
coolest stories from that day specifically was there was a church that didn't necessarily have an internet outage, but they had rolling internet issues where like the connection would come up for maybe just 30 seconds to a minute, and then the connection would drop out, and then it would come back in and it would drop back out. And so their encoder actually just kept caching data whenever the internet went up. And then when the internet went down, it just used the cache. And so they were able to stream the entire day while having internet drop in and out like minutes at a time, and then coming back on and coming back off. And so I think that was just really the coolest real-time example that I've ever seen of RSP at work. So.
Yeah, and I mean, there's examples like that again that are like the catastrophic. Hey, these are the really extenuating circumstances or whatever. But
then you have the circumstances where I just want to stream from outside of our church, and the Wi-Fi doesn't reach there.
Right.
Can I plug in a phone? It's like, well, yeah, of course you can. Like, absolutely.
Yeah,
do
or
that.
Daniel and I were down in Phoenix last week at Camping World, which is, our heart's really for churches. That's where we started from, but we do have a few fun use cases like that. So they're doing this RV tour, all around the U.S. and you can actually extend that. There's some creative ways that we can kind of extend the delay too, if people want to. So they're on like a 15-minute delay because they were dealing with,
They were in the middle of a field
exactly
and needed to stream. And
Wow.
yeah, the day before, they realized that their uplink was not at the speed they needed to use what they were using. And so we had an encoder at a church in the area driven to the field and set up that night or the day after or whatever. And they were able to make their like actual like go live time like within like, the nick of time.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Pretty cool.
that was awesome.
Wow. Because you could even have an upload speed that's as low as 1 or 2 megabits a second, right?
Yeah.
And technically, theoretically, it could still work.
Yeah, I mean, it all depends on the bit rate that you're streaming at, right?
Okay.
So for some of our clients, we have some that are some churches that are, in the Virgin Islands or places that are really limited in terms of internet access, and so we've done some creative things in order to decrease the need for them. And then part of that too is again potentially increasing the delay as well for stuff like the RV tour, or we even did something with Royal Caribbean at one point, which was really cool. But we always say, if you decrease your bit rate or increase your delay, then you can deal with a slow internet connection. Obviously, we prefer not to reduce quality whenever possible.
Right.
Yeah. So because what's happening with some of these other streaming softwares out there when in the encoding process, where it's actually taking your program feed and compressing it and sending it online, because sometimes I'll notice with software like Ecamm, like it'll look fine and sound fine, but then maybe when there's connectivity issues, that's when you see the stream quality suffer,
Right.
and then it gets back better. But like, so what's happening there, and why doesn't that happen with Resi?
Yeah, I mean it's pretty much just all packet loss. You know, that data isn't
Okay.
there when it gets to the cloud. And so like when you think about the way that the internet has always worked, it was built for like server client relationships where it was going to say, hey, we're going to send these data, we're going to send these bits, and if it doesn't make it there in time, then we'll just ask it to re-upload, ask the client, the computer, whatever, to re-upload that data. And so if you're dealing with an RTMP stream, it doesn't work that way. It's a single stream of data. It's not catching up at any point. And so if that data isn't there by the time it gets to the cloud, then it just says, hey, this is missing. It's going to drop the frame. It's going to stutter. It's going to buffer. It's going to have to go down to a lower quality potentially too.
We
You know,
like to
depending
call
on-
those special effects.
Yeah, exactly. Depending on it, how you're doing adaptive bit rates and stuff like that. But with Resi, we handle it. You can, I like to, the biggest question or the best way that I think I can answer this is like a lot of people, I'll explain it to just like an uploaded file where, you think of this just like a Netflix video. You think about this just like a video on demand video where you're uploading it to the cloud for playback later, because that's exactly what's happening. You have this perfect archival. And that's even kind of cool too for archive, because like, you don't want to use a stream file for archive typically because it's going to have any of the issues that happened, with your internet, those are just going to be recorded. But with ours, it's a perfect file that you have hosted in the cloud, which is pretty neat as well.
Which I was just thinking about recording this. Usually we like to download the file, or we like to have the file to extract the audio, put on the
recorded
podcast.
locally, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally forgot to put a SD card in our
Sure.
Hyperdeck.
There you
But
go.
Yeah.
this is being recorded
Yeah.
to Resi right now.
Yeah, and the highest bit rate, whatever bit rate
Yeah.
that
I think
you're
we did
streaming in.
6 megabits
Cool.
at 1080,
Yeah,
24.
So, it's not a ProRes, or an
Yeah.
uncompressed file or anything like that, but it's definitely a lot better than a typical stream file would be.
And
Yep.
better than not having one at all.
That's true as well.
Good backup for sure. And that's actually what my church is depending on, because the Summit Go Pack that we have doesn't have an SD recorder in it.
Sure.
Mhm.
So it's like if we were to record the main output, it's like
Mhm.
I don't know what to do here, so I'm just
Right.
gonna depend on it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
And you're using cellular hotspot.
yeah.
That's cool.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Wow.
last week we just had an encoding issue, like to where it didn't go to Facebook, but it still went to YouTube, or the week before I should say, and but it still went to YouTube just fine. And yeah, you've been using it for a long time.
Yeah, it worked great. It was an encoder profile issue that had to be updated for Facebook or something,
Interesting.
some random thing like that. But then what's cool about you guys is like you can have a problem and we like email support at resi.io or .com or whatever, and you get a response like within like 10 minutes. I mean that's been the case. I feel like the majority of the time when I email support.
They're pretty freaky.
so-
They're good.
Even on Sundays.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, that's great. So let's talk about differences between software and hardware.
Yeah.
Encoding, you guys used to be pretty much hardware only. Now you have a software solution. But tell us pros and cons and why a church would choose one way over another.
Yeah, totally. So, obviously we started out with hardware, and a lot of people know that it's always been kind of the one pain of, hey, well, I want to use Resi, but do I have to purchase this piece of hardware? And, for us, we honestly wish people didn't have to. It was just a consequence for us that when we were building it, we looked for every hardware appliance that could do what we wanted to, and none of them would do the technology that we were looking for in order to be able to cache and upload resiliently. So we had to build our own, and then we entered into the hardware business with that. So, it's nice. We really do recommend hardware whenever possible, just for that reason, and for also the reason of support too that you were mentioning, where if for whatever reason we do have to look into a situation or an encoder, profile or anything like that, we know that, our support team knows the hardware backwards and forwards. They're able to remote in, they're able to really diagnose it, take a look at it close up. Where, if we were just using off-the-shelf encoders, even if we could, which we can't, unfortunately, because of the technology, but it would be a lot harder to do that too. So hardware is always our first choice, but we were really excited about, I think, 6 months ago now to roll out ProPresenter Stream, which was awesome. So it's our first software encoder, and it it uses the same technology. So we were able to work with awesome guys at Renewed Vision and come up with a solution that does the same technology in terms of caching and sending it resiliently, but works all entirely within software. So again, we love Renewed Vision. We love the partnership we have with them, and that is an awesome way to be able to get into the platform without any upfront cost, which is awesome. So it's a great way to go. Hardware is always kind of the first choice, though, that we say, just because of the ruggedness of it. We know the platform that we're supporting. That's the first choice option. But for smaller churches or churches that are just getting into it, or churches that want to purchase additional encoders for youth rooms or classrooms or wherever else, and then it can all be managed within one platform too. It's been a really great option for that, rather than having to buy out a bunch of hardware.
So how would you help someone decide between ProPresenter Stream or like a Ray encoder?
Yeah. I always say, like, if you're using ProPresenter right now and you have it on a system that you know and trust, and there's really no question about the reliability for you. Again, with ProPresenter and with any type of software, you're dealing with millions of different types of fragmentation on the hardware, depending on the version of Windows or version of Mac, and the different hardware components and everything that are built into it. So, if there's any question about if the reliability of ProPresenter and it's working great, then Resi will probably work great on that as well. But like I mentioned, I think hardware is always kind of what we mainly try to recommend as the first choice option. But we're really excited to have ProPresenter Stream kind of in our back pocket as this option to be able to get into the platform without that hardware cost.
Well, it kind of goes back to this idea, when you're looking at any piece of gear that's handling a mission critical type of task. If you have a dedicated piece of gear,
that too, yeah,
that it's only trying to do one job and it's going to do that job really well.
Yep.
And so when you're multitasking on a computer, the variables just increase so much so. And so, that's why having a dedicated encoder is, typically our recommendation.
Totally.
Because that's what we know is going to be the most reliable solution.
Yep.
But we also want to make it possible for organizations of any size to be able to get on the platform. And and be able to stream that way.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we just updated our beginner live stream course, and it's kind of for like entry level setups for live streaming, and it's actually pretty still robust, even being entry level. And ProPresenter is kind of it's your presentation software and video switcher and encoder. And I'm surprised, like we've ran a lot of tests with a base model Mac Mini M1 chip, and it's actually been really stable. Doing like knocking over my water bottle there.
This is live. This is so live.
It is very live. It's really stable. Like, I mean, I haven't used it week in and week out. But it'll be cool to see with our students, like how it's working for them. And actually, I just saw some email somewhere from a student today or something that like, hey, the new live streaming course setup's been working awesome already. And they're only like a couple weeks into it. So
totally.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, it's great. I think, and I really think I'm a M1 Mac Mini fanboy, but they work really well. And then because the other thing too, if churches are deciding between this, I think it's like you have maybe this simpler live stream setup where ProPresenter is kind of your video switcher and encoder, and then use Resi for more, the resilient streaming protocol, the automation, all the bells and whistles that come with Resi.
Yeah.
But then if you're like, okay, if you want more hardware setup, where kind of like what we're using now, this is the video rack that we made a video about with Summit and stuff like that. So we've got cameras going into a hardware switcher, and then program out from the hardware ATEM going into the Ray encoder. And I don't know, it is a very robust solution. And we don't have to worry about like one computer failing and it completely going. Right. It's more like, I feel like, I don't know. I'm trying to think what's the weakest link of our system right now with the hardware.
Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, I was thinking about how you said like getting people into the platform. Like if someone had like, hey, we don't have a lot of money, but we want to stream our service. We've got a couple of phones that we can send into NDI.
Totally.
ProPresenter can pull
Mhm.
those in as video sources.
man.
You can overlay.
Yeah.
I mean, you
Absolutely.
can do.
Well, and it's so powerful.
Yep.
Just, I mean, I think Daniel hit the nail on the head too, as far as like, using one device and multitasking and stuff like that. And especially, when it comes to portability, because I know like, churches that you guys have been involved with have been portable as well, where to have one device that's kind of managing everything is really an advantage in a lot of times. And to be able to have your entire graphics workstation, your CG, your maybe not audio, but like at least your graphics and switcher and encoder and everything all in one device is really beneficial for a lot of churches for sure.
One interesting question I saw is the difference between a Resi encoding process and like an ATEM encoder. If you use like the ATEM Mini Pro or the Pro Extreme ISO Super Duper ATEM, whatever they call it, like so the ATEMs can be encoders.
Right.
I believe they're using RTMP
That's correct.
to go direct to Facebook or YouTube, and then if you want to do like RTMP to a custom RTMP key and URL, I think you have to do like some special weird program encoding. I don't know why they haven't. Blackmagic hasn't made that easier.
it is called Blackmagic. So
I know, right? I just don't know why they haven't made that easier to like customize that to have, because maybe you want to use a multi-streaming platform like Restream or something like that.
Right.
Yeah. I don't. But like the difference is, again, I guess you're not getting resilient streaming through that. It's just RTMP.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing. I mean, RTMP and what we use at Resi, RSP, are just completely different when it comes to once it gets past the hardware, how are you handling resiliency? And that's where Resi comes in. And so you guys are just talking about what's the weakest link in like our hardware, and typically it's the internet connection at the end of the chain.
Yep.
And so that's where Resi comes in and tries to help everyone out.
Yeah. The thought that just came to my mind is, have you guys talked to Blackmagic directly yet? Or is you not? Are you just
No,
like,
you know what?
Just wink 3 times.
No,
with your right
I
eye.
would say the most diplomatic answer is like, we're always looking for growth and where people want to stream and how people want to stream and how people want to be doing it. And so that's what our goal is as a company, is we want to build what people want. And there's sometimes, certain limitations. We'd love to, I'd love to build our protocol into something that would be something like a Blackmagic switcher or something like that. But ultimately, it would have to be able to do what we need our encoding process to do, which is saving that data. And that's the tricky part, is the technology of actually saving that data, caching it, sending it, verifying it, doing MD5 checks on the data. There's a lot that goes in between just taking that video source in and getting it to the cloud. And so that's why it's pretty extensive as far as, what it needs to look like and why we've had to build it ourselves.
And you guys are like worked really closely with Renewed Vision. Like it
Absolutely.
wasn't.
Exactly.
This wasn't just like here, let's make a new plugin or
Right,
whatever
right.
for ProPresenter.
Yep,
Like it was
yeah.
a pretty
Right.
close partnership
Exactly,
that you guys have.
yep.
Yeah, cool. That makes sense. I'll predict it though, that someday there's gonna be on some new Blackmagic like design product update. Maybe they'll be like, hey, now there's a Resi integration. That would be
Anything
cool.
can happen, man. It'd
That would
cool.
be awesome.
Yeah.
I don't even know. Are they based in the States somewhere?
I think they're in Australia.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They've got offices all over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting. What else about Resi? If there's any other questions, I had other questions on my that came to mind, but are you good? Any more questions about Resi?
No, I think I understand
the
it.
automation. That was the other thing
Yeah.
I want to explain to
Oh, yeah,
people.
yeah.
That's because we talked about resilient streaming protocol, like getting your stream to the destination in a reliable way, even if you're, in the middle of a Sahara desert with a really bad, Starlink or something like that. You guys should get a Starlink.
We did.
Oh, nice. You're gonna test. You tested it. Did you test it?
We haven't.
you-
Well, we
you
haven't
heard it here first.
gotten it yet, but we pre-ordered it.
Oh,
so,
okay, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
We'll be putting out some stuff. About
I was gonna
that for
say,
sure.
even with that, because I think what's the upload speed for that? Did they say?
It's pretty fast. I think they're looking, man, I could be way off, but it's plenty
Look it up.
sufficient. I think it's at least like 10 to 20 right now for upload. But really, where we're actually in the middle of writing a blog about it too. And it'll be pretty low latency, which is great. But like with any type of satellite, you're always going to be dealing with the space between you and wherever that satellite is. So clouds, snow, storms, stuff like that, we expect, will probably have some effect on it.
Yeah.
But what's cool is with our technology, that'll help. So with doing satellite internet, if there were storms or snow or anything that affected the ability to get that data to the cloud, then we'll be able to still send that resiliently. So it'll actually be probably a really, really ideal way to be able to stream using Starlink for sure.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a great solution for churches in really rural areas. That's the
Absolutely.
big selling point. I don't think you're going to see a bunch of us in the city needing Starlink anytime soon for anything, other than, man, I just get so frustrated with Comcast and CenturyLink.
I know.
And their business models, and like I'm just like
Quote here, yeah.
even if it's slower, I would do Starlink just to not be with Comcast.
It will be really interesting to see where it goes for sure, because I know they're making some really good promises, and things are looking pretty good from the first test. So we're excited for the rural. I mean, I know that's where they're targeting for sure, and we get a lot of churches that want to use us and could use something like this, and it'd help them a lot in some of the more rural areas.
Yeah. Well, before I went off on that tangent, so resilient streaming protocol, that's a what and a why for Resi. Then there's the overall high quality encoding process and maintaining that through the resilient streaming protocol. Then automation. This is another thing that I think you don't really appreciate until you actually start using it.
Right.
Because it's like a lot of churches right now, let's say they're streaming with like the ATEM Mini or even OBS. I'm trying to think of these other softwares. I'm not sure how even automated those can be. I'm guessing some of them would be able to be automated, but just to not have to be 10 minutes before the service and be like, okay,
We've all
go
been
live
there.
at this time, right? And then it's just like it's one more thing for someone to forget,
right?
And you're trying to time that perfectly at the right time, and it's nice with Resi to not have to think about that.
Yeah.
All you have to think about is make sure whatever's on your program is what you want on your program before it gets sent online.
And I think Nate can talk more to the technical side of it, but I think one of the things about Resi that I personally love, coming from a church background, and at the end of the day, we're all church techs here, and our goal at Resi is to really make life easier and take things off your plate so you can actually focus on the content that matters. And you guys spend so much time crafting your service, trying to figure out how we're going to reach people, what's going to be engaging. And if at the end of the day, we can do a small part of just allowing you to focus on that more, that's really the heart about why we do what we do.
Yep.
And so, we care about the people in the shadows, and that's, why we're here is to really solve that problem.
Yeah. Because we've all been there. I mean, we've all had the dreaded, wake up calls and the times during the middle of the service where we look and
streaming on high school
text
internet,
from our pastor or whatever, and things aren't streaming or working right or whatever. And so, and especially right now with everything being online and, moving back thankfully into hybrid situations now. But it's that peace of mind, I think, is a recurring theme for us that, and it's almost a little bit weird at first. I know even before we were starting today, of just is it starting? Is it going?
Yeah.
But then,
that's called trauma.
But once you kind of get used to it, it's no, it's going to go live at this time. It's going to be expected at this time. We don't need to worry about it. And hey, if something does happen, we're going to get a phone call, or we're going to get an email, or, some people have it even set up through Zapier or something. We do the alerts on the encoder. So if signal drop, internet issue, or anything like that, you get those emails. And then we'll, figure it out from there.
Can I just tell a quick church story?
Yeah.
So mid-COVID, we had just switched to Resi as a church, and we were just still dealing with that, trauma from all of this other streaming that we've done. And so we had been on the Resi platform for, 2 or 3 months already. And I remember having that conversation with our production director. Hey, I don't think we have to come in anymore on a Sunday to sit and babysit the stream. I think it's just going to work. And I kind of looked at him and I was like, yeah, I don't think we need to. And there was just this moment where we were like, can you even believe we're having that conversation? And it was because of Resi that we were able to, monitor the stream from home and do those kinds of things, because we were pre-recording and uploading them and all this different stuff. And I just remember that distinct moment of having that conversation and being like, I cannot believe I'm actually in this moment saying I can stay home on a Sunday because Resi's going to take care of it.
Yep.
And so, yeah.
So automation. I love automation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm like the worship. I'm like the worship automation guy, man.
Dude, it
Ableton
shows
and all that stuff,
your
right?
YouTube videos. It's like, oh,
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. We've got Philips Hue lights everywhere in here.
Mhm.
We actually haven't really set up any automation sequence with that yet. Like you can control them, but
But you could do it from this then.
yeah. The multi-streaming to different places. That's another big thing. People like that's what Resi does too.
Mhm.
Like people, you should be sending your live stream to YouTube and Facebook at the bare minimum, both of the platforms, both places. And I've heard a lot of dumb excuses for why people only do one or the other. Just do both because they have different strengths. You got Facebook has the social sharing strength. Like people can easily share their posts or share the stream and their friends see it and their friends of friends see it. Great way for people to discover your church. And then YouTube is also great for more just organic discovery.
Yeah.
You know, maybe people just stumble along a live stream or like a sermon video because of what they're searching. I like both, and they both have their pros and cons, but I think you should do both. And that's what's great about like you guys. You have the I know you have like the web only plan, then you have like the social only plan, and then you have web and social.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite is the web starter plan where you can have social and you can have your own Resi embed code that does not, you know, doesn't matter what the whims of Mark Zuckerberg or the Google CEOs are that day.
Right.
Like it'll still work, right? I will ask though, what are you guys using though? Because we do know, all of us know the pretty much the whole internet is run by Amazon
Yeah.
and Google.
Mm-hmm.
Where do you guys like? Where are all your servers?
Yeah.
Are they like your own? Are they in Amazon or Google? Like what's going on there?
Well,
Yeah.
we could tell you, but then like church front would be ended.
Well, we don't have to know the physical location.
Why do you think we moved to Colorado? It's all in NORAD, and I'm just kidding.
Oh, there we
go. No, yeah, no, we're actually it's a good question because we're in the process of kind of moving some of what we're doing, just even to be more resilient. You know, we say that word a lot, but we for the past have been based in Google Cloud and Cloudflare. So we've used both of them kind of in different ways, but we're actually moving into what's called multi-cloud, or we call it multi-cloud. And we also use something called Kubernetes, which is pretty cool. It gets really technical, and I don't know the half of it, but allows us to scale up infinitely faster than if we were relying on like dedicated server instances. So that means that, you know, when there's huge spikes in traffic, we're able to scale up dynamically with it because it's not relying on individual servers in order to do that. So, so that's a huge advantage. But then multi-cloud too does mean that, you know, the things with if one provider goes down, wouldn't be reliant on one. And there's some too. I think there's a lot of value in we say owning your content. That's a term that comes around at Resi quite a bit. And it even goes in somewhat into Facebook and YouTube too, and kind of strategy there. I agree 100%. Like you should be streaming to all the different destinations. You should be reaching people wherever they are. But at the same time, we recognize and we know that there's value in cultivating a community as well. And we know that there's other reasons why Mark Zuckerberg wants you to come to Facebook other than engaging with your church. Because you scroll through your timeline and every third post is an ad. And so the incentive for them is not to have people engage in content. It's for them to keep scrolling and engaging in more and more advertising. And so, you know, we always say, be really strategic and think about using social, use it well, use it smart to reach people. But ultimately, at the end of the day, too, know that your highest watch time and your most dedicated people are going to be coming back to your website.
Yep. So church online platform.
Yeah, I was just going to say church
And
online platform.
When you
brush fire.
when you have the dedicated embed code from Resi, you're not taking an embed code from YouTube or Facebook that could, who knows what junk is going to come up, you know, an ad or something like that could come up on your video midstream. It's
right.
like, I guess you could make sure monetization's off, but at the same time, well, they can still put like an ad on it because maybe you played some copyrighted material.
Right.
And they'll flag that and they won't take it down, but they'll put ads on it.
Yeah.
And you really don't need some, you know, weird ad happening halfway through your service.
But I think one of the other benefits of using the embed code, at least on Resi's side, is the analytics as well.
Yeah.
You get way more detailed analytics in terms of like where people are watching, how long, And so to me, from a content side, like that's really important because you're able to decide, okay, are people actually engaging in my content? Where are they dropping off? What's important to them? And then you can actually make strategic decisions, whether as an organization or from a service by service basis on like, okay, hey, we should probably move this around because we're starting to lose people, at certain points along the way. So
yeah, and we'll actually be rolling out some really cool analytic tools for other embedded platforms too, like YouTube and Facebook.
Right, where
which
it's
would be
more
great too,
aggregated.
so,
Yeah.
Where do I see those analytics?
It's under your events.
Oh,
You get
so
events
okay,
and analytics there.
okay.
My favorite is the heat map. Tells you where
So
everyone's
and then
watching.
I go to like a web event, and then I go to details, or do I go, or does it have to wait till we're done?
No, you should be able to do it now under your events tab, and then I can pull it up on my phone.
Details, because I see like the stream we're doing right now. I'm just
Yeah.
not seeing an analytics thingy.
Let's see here. Yep. So if you click the actions button here, and then go down to analytics.
Okay, actions. When I see
you know what? This will
watch.
be for your. This is actually because we're just going to YouTube, so this will just be your embedded player. So actually, that's what we're talking about.
we
That'll
were
be,
we were on the embed code.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so those analytics are way more detailed if you're using an embed code versus YouTube.
Okay.
But soon
I see what you mean.
we're
Yep.
rolling out the ability to aggregate your analytics from across the platforms
Yep.
into one space. You can kind of see everything without having to log into YouTube Studio
Yep.
or Facebook Creator.
Yep.
You're able to just kind of see everything in one place.
Yep.
And that includes like showing where people are watching, like people are engaging from Facebook here, from
Mhm.
YouTube here.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the
Pretty
watch
awesome.
time, the heat map that Daniel was talking about is pretty cool too. We've had pastors put that up like on their stage display, and then they're like, "I see a pastor, I see a viewer in Sydney, Australia, or whatever."
Mhm.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Mhm.
also from an organizational standpoint that can also be super helpful when you're planning, expanding
Yeah.
your reach as an organization. You
Right.
can actually look and see, hey, we actually have a huge,
Yeah.
and obviously these like dots on the map aren't like specific, like where people are actually, but it's more of a generalized area, and you can see where oh wow, like there's actually a ton of people, 3 towns over that are engaging in our content. I wonder if that might be a great spot to expand, a campus or a multi-site or
Or even just like a small group.
or
like-
even a
Mhm.
small group
Yeah.
or a micro
Watch
site or
party,
something
whatever.
like that.
Yeah,
And so yeah, we've heard a lot of
a
organizations
lot of cool
utilizing
stories
that.
with that.
Yeah. Let's talk about one last thing with Resi, and that is the pricing and plans. Go to that
I
page,
thought you were
Adam.
going to say our podcast,
Nope, not the podcast.
Coffee and Gaff Tape. Look it up.
Is that what it's called? Coffee and
That's
Gaff
an
Tape?
awesome
Awesome.
name.
Yeah.
Do you guys are putting it on YouTube?
It is on YouTube, everywhere podcasts are available.
Cool.
First
We're
two
on
episodes.
episode 2. Yeah.
First
I think
two
we've
episodes
filmed
are
like
up.
Coffee and Gaff Tape. That sounds like your type of podcast,
Oh yeah.
Adam.
Let's
We
go.
we've got an interview with Chad Vegas from TC Nation up there, and Ryan Ellis from Passion.
Oh,
So,
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Our next one too.
But yeah,
will
we
be,
should definitely talk about pricing.
Yeah, we should talk about pricing. You're trying to divert from.
Yeah.
This is a
No,
thing
no,
that-
absolutely.
This is a thing that makes everybody salty is about pricing, because here's the thing is they're like,
So
I'm like, hey, people, use Resi because it's great. Its features, it's going to be convenient. It's automated. It's going to be high quality, resilient streaming protocol, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, but Jake, it costs $100 a month for their
Right.
starter plan. Blah, blah,
Right.
blah. It's like, okay. And this is where we need some psychological work done in terms of understanding, like, we're in the age now where every church basically needs an online campus that's like reliable. And it's like, just think about the importance of people showing up to your building and having a resilient building that they're in under, so that it
Right.
doesn't just collapse on them, right? That's why we invest in good properties and buildings and construction. And
Yeah.
like churches are already paying lots in mortgages, or they're renting a building. And it's just the reality. Like, if you want a growing, thriving ministry in the 21st century,
Yeah.
you've got to have a robust online infrastructure.
Mhm.
Hence, some of these web plans, whether it's, I think, again, for most smaller to mid-sized churches, gosh, the social only plan, that's a pretty great deal there.
Right.
If you can do the starter web plan, and also, when you're talking, because usually you guys have basically sales reps that people can chat with, right? If they're ready to like start signing up. And like, I know this, and this is what happened for us at Mission Lakewood, because we were like a really tiny little church plant. We're just like, there's the plans online that you guys have, but then we talk to a sales rep, be like, hey, we are at a dinky little church plant in Colorado. Like, what's the best you can do, right? And like, you can always ask that question basically on some of these service plans. So I just want to let you guys know that just talk to a sales rep and they'll help you find the right solution for your church. And when we start thinking about these costs, and maybe, I mean, part of it too is like, I'm running an online company, and like, we pay, I think I pay like, I think I pay $700 a month just for Wistia video hosting, video on demand hosting. Because Vimeo is like,
Should talk to you about that.
Yeah, talking about that, because here's the thing, just the video on demand, turns out I used Vimeo for years, but then once I started having a lot of traffic and volume, we have a lot of courses and customers, and then Vimeo would just glitch on us like crazy all the time. We'd get support tickets being like, my video won't play, and I'm like, Vimeo, what's going on?
Yeah.
So like, but I was only paying like $400 a year for them or something like that for Vimeo, but I need a service that works, because this is like a part of our product and what we do.
Right.
So now we pay obscene amounts of money to do that, but it's still worth it, because it's like, that's our core way that we help people, is through these videos.
Sure.
So where was I going? Oh, I was just talking about, I'm used to paying more. So when I see some of these rates, especially for the nonprofit plans that you guys have, it seems pretty darn reasonable for what you get.
Yeah. I mean, I always tell people too, when that question comes up, like, we're not oblivious. We weren't born yesterday. We know the plans are more expensive than other ones, and certainly more expensive than just streaming to YouTube. But we built this because it was something that we needed and we wanted, and we wanted the reliability and we wanted the support. And that was something that we felt like was missing with the other options. And so to be able to, we try to get our costs as low as we can. You can see, we have different pricing for companies than we do for churches. And we try to, get it to as low as we can, but ultimately what we do and the way that we do it does cost more, and that's why it does cost
So
more.
scroll down a little bit. I just want to see. All right, basic and bed up to 720p, $69 a month. Who was on the team to decide the pricing point there and that number? You probably
We're
could
not
have
gonna
done
talk
like
about that.
60 or something else. Just say it. I don't know. I'm like, when you're following like the Musk memes
Is this
and
a
all
church
this stuff.
podcast? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I'm surprised you don't have like a 420 a month plan. No, I'm just saying it's a church podcast, but we're also a bunch of bros.
Yeah.
It's just funny. I would have been like, okay, let's make it $70 or $68.
We may be have some documents coming out like today or tomorrow that is $60. I think it's $65.
There we go.
$67.
Perfect.
But we know what sells too. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's part of like it. 240 seems like a lot more money than 230. So I get that.
So, anyways, those are the pricing plans, guys. But I think the social only, I would recommend as kind of a bare minimum. The basic and bed one's cool, but that's like if you're just putting it on your own site or church online.
Right.
But then,
Yep.
who's gonna find it? But yeah.
Cool.
I think, man, pricing. Any other questions? There's so much love for Resi in the chat right now.
Awesome.
Guys, just ask someone who's using it if it's worth it. That's my biggest thing. You could talk to us all day.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'll tell you all day, like, it's a solution you should use right now. If something better comes out, I'll always tell you guys to use that something better, but I don't really foresee that happening anytime soon. These guys, obviously, they're a little biased, but
Not at all. Not at all.
well, I think it's time for a break from our sponsors. The first sponsor bringing the show is the like button. So make sure you smash the like button below this video if you're watching right now when it's live, or when it is you're watching the replay later on. Really appreciate that. Really supports the channel. And I was going to make some funny saying, like, every time a bell rings, an angel gets its wings. Every time a like button is smashed,
Tech
Jake-
director gets
Coffee.
a coffee.
Ooh, there you go. Well done. That was quick.
Or something like that. Smash the like button, please. I better see that like button up to like 100 likes, and there's like 132 people watching right now. There's no reason none of you guys or all of you guys can't hit the like button right now. Okay. And then our other sponsor is Worship Ministry School. As I'm talking about Worship Ministry School, Adam's going to pull it up on our computer here so you can see what Worship Ministry School is all about. So maybe you've heard of a service called Resi. and Pro Presenter and all these cool tools out there, but you're like, how do I get all of these things up and running? And that's what Worship Ministry School is for. It's an online education platform for churches, for worship leaders, tech team leaders, directors. Go to our course library, Adam. Show them some of those delicious courses that we've got.
They're so delicious.
All right, so we've got courses on like theology, mindset as a worship leader, copyright law, planning center. You just updated that planning center course not long ago.
Yeah,
so
because Planning Center updated.
there's a lot of great tools out there, but sometimes if you don't have an actual strategy of how to use them, you're just going to use them to like 10% of their capability. We've got worship rehearsal, guide to electric guitar for modern worship, sound courses, lighting courses, live stream courses. Like we talk about Resi in both of our live streaming courses now, whether it's the more beginner setup or advanced setup. So go to the homepage of worshipministryschool.com or go to the /apply, fill out that form, and then you can hop on a free strategy session with one of our coaches, and we will chat about your goals and your obstacles in your ministry right now and the best way to overcome those. And if that's being part of our program, we'll let you know. We'll invite you to join it. If not, we'll point you towards other resources out there. So go to worshipministryschool.com today. Thank you, sponsor, Worship Ministry School.
You're welcome.
That's what's fun. We get to.
That's the Jake voice. I know.
You're welcome. We get to be our own sponsors on this show.
Nice.
All right. So then, the next talking point that I want to bring up. So this is part of our show where we just talk about random stuff that we think is interesting these days. So one thing, big news in the world of backing tracks and pads. Multitracks.com comes out with the pad player. So they added a completely new audio engine to the playback app. So now you can like play pads separately kind of, but at the same time with your backing tracks, lots of cool integrations. Christian at Multitracks hopped on a call and showed me some of these things. Very cool. I haven't had time to actually use it myself, but when I saw it in action, it's like, man, it's getting powerful. Playback app is getting really powerful, and it's come such a long way since I think it was like I first encountered it like 6 years ago. Have you guys used Playback for anything?
No, I have not,
Okay.
but I'm intrigued now.
Yeah, you check it out.
Looks amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I think it really solves the major issues. Like what I can do with Ableton is build some nice smooth transitions. And, when you're working with all the tracks in Ableton, you can throw in your pads wherever you want. And this kind of solves that problem it's kind of hard to explain.
Just go to this website, multitracks.com/product/pad player.
Yep.
Do I
And
see
you
it?
guys don't mess around
Is
with
it
it.
on an
No.
iPad in that screenshot? What is
Yeah,
that?
that's an iPad.
Yeah. Playback plays on iPad
Okay.
and iOS. Yeah. And then I saw a Facebook thing. Did you see it was coming to Mac soon?
Yeah,
Okay. I can't remember which things are,
I think that's.
yeah.
So
Things
this
that
is
are
like
public.
a-
It's public. Yeah.
This is an on-stage accessory that a worship leader would have with them.
Yeah, it's like Ableton.
It's
Yep.
a tracks rig. Yeah.
It's amazing.
You're talking to two tech guys, but not exactly musicians.
So yeah, you can play back.
I know A, B, and G, I think, but
There you go. You can play back tracks. You can even do MIDI automations through it now. And now you can do pads. So it's like you can take care of your automation. You can take care of your tracks. And I'm pretty sure you can plug this into not a track rig. Sorry, that's the Loop Community thing. You can plug it into an interface that has outputs like the track rig.
Nice.
And so you can even do separate outputs on it, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah. It's very impressive. That's what Aaron here at South Fellowship uses Playback all the time. And he's working on converting me. But it's very convincing. Now all the features I got, MIDI automation, all that stuff, it's pretty enticing.
Well, Jake, you're a worship leader, right?
Uh-huh.
And so how helpful and powerful is it to be able to have something like that on stage with you?
Totally. So my preference personally is
Yeah.
I like to not run my tracks. I like
Sure.
to have a music director person on keys do it. But if you are a solo worship leader and you don't have someone in your band to do it, it does make it so much easier. Like the control surface of this compared to Ableton is definitely way simpler, triggering things. My biggest setback with this in using just going all in with something like Playback is just the clunkiness of more has to do with where you're sourcing your backing tracks from and getting your tracks to work in their proprietary software and stuff like that, or uploading it to their cloud. Technically, you're not supposed to. Like Ableton, because it all happens locally on your computer, you can pull and be compliant with their terms of service by having your tracks that were purchased legally on your computer hard drive, and you can mix Loop Community tracks with multi-tracks tracks and wherever else you get your tracks. Just said tracks a lot in that sentence.
Tracks on tracks.
Tracks on tracks. And that's one of my biggest kind of things. I'm like, I don't know. I don't
good to
want to
know.
go all in with just sourcing tracks from multi-tracks.
Sure.
Other than that, it's really great though. I love the team behind it. Christian and those guys are doing a great job. It's cool features. So there might be a day, I'm just saying this, I haven't switched yet, but there might be a day where Jake uses playback for a tracks rig.
Dun dun dun.
Dun dun dun. We'll see. Okay. I am gonna try it out for sure. And the next time I lead, I think I'm gonna try it. So, okay. Next big news that we got to talk about here is Bitcoin. No, this was an interesting. So this was an interesting thing that came up in it was a church media tech Facebook group, and someone's like, "Hey, have you guys thought about cryptocurrencies and church, like for church giving?"
Right.
And I was like, I had thought about it, and I even told, I called up Brady Shear not long ago. He does the Rebel Give. It's a giving platform.
Yep.
I'm like, Brady, you need to figure out like a crypto giving platform for churches, and because I think it could be revolutionary.
Yeah.
Because like a church, theoretically a church could easily open up have their own Bitcoin wallet and be like, when they do like giving on Sundays, you're like, here's the QR code, donate Bitcoin. And I think it'd actually be a really great asset to donate to a church. And that's easy, right? Because the beauty of Bitcoin is like, you can give it to anybody, nobody controls it. The transaction fees are like next to nothing when you're just sending Bitcoin from one place to another. Whereas like right now, churches are getting reamed with transaction fees from PushPay and Tithely and like in some of these other credit card processors out there in the church giving platforms, because and I'm dealing with this here at our church. Like I was talking to our executive pastor about it. We're like locked into a PushPay contract, and like we can't even try using another giving platform, so we're out of that contract. And I gotta be careful what I say, because I'm kind of scared like guys in black suits are gonna show up my door.
Pushpay's called me on my phone several times.
When?
Right now?
No, like less than a year ago.
About what?
Justin from PushPay, he's called me about like, hey, does your church want to do this and things like that. So he's probably listening, man.
I don't. I'm kind of scared now that I broadcasted this out there. But no, because it's like there's so many fees and stuff, transaction fees and all that stuff. And the beauty of crypto is decentralization.
Yeah.
Lower fees on there are some fees, but it's like because of the network and the verifying transactions, all the things that blockchain has to do.
Yeah.
But it'd be interesting if churches got into that.
All I'll say is it took me as a communications director of a church a very long fight to even consider not passing a bucket until COVID happened. Passing a basket.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see what the adaptation of that would look like, especially from, a demographic that might be a little bit more weary of something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now the millennials we're pretty much the largest generation right now, and we're kind of all coming into our adulthood. You'd probably be the biggest economic driver behind society. I think a lot of this stuff will happen sooner than later, because it's like, I mean, I cannot stand writing checks,
Right.
And then the online giving platforms are great, but
Yeah, and that's why Brady started the Rebel Give thing, right? Because he was like trying to get the lowest transaction fee possible.
they're pretty much just charging for the software itself, which is like, I think he charged like $100 a month, maybe less, for just the software. And then he negotiated really low transaction fees with the processing fees with the credit card companies.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what he thinks of Bitcoin.
I talked to him.
That.
He's I'm trying to push him
Let
into
him be
it.
on the show and talk about it.
He's like, he's one of those guys. He likes to wait until something is very mainstream to like,
Sure.
do it. But I'm like, dude,
It's like Apple. right? I mean,
Exactly.
they-
Yeah. You think about Apple. You're right.
They kind of wait until something is a market saturated and say, yeah, let's fix everything that's wrong with it.
Yep.
Seems like Tesla is maybe the exact opposite. It's just like
Well, I mean, they
self-driving,
throw
Bitcoin,
cannonballs
yeah.
at cars, so that's.
flamethrower.
I mean, I'm
Do you
just saying.
think if Apple comes out with their own car, if Tesla will be like the next BlackBerry? Isn't that weird to think about?
that is?
I don't think
really
it will be.
strange.
I think Elon is too visionary
Yeah.
of a leader for that to
Build-
happen.
Build a spaceship, man.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Have you guys seen the what do they call it? The
NFTs?
NFT images, the $99,000 image or whatever JPEG.
The $69 million. No, it was I don't know, NFTs. How are those gonna disrupt the church world when it comes to like music licensing? Because that's
Right.
another thing, or
Yeah.
just blockchain and the way it's gonna affect the music industry. I think that's gonna be a big deal too.
Yeah,
So
because
then,
it's basically just DRM, right? Essentially, but on blockchain,
what's the DRM?
just like digital rights management.
So-
like
yeah,
how
yeah.
it's locked down.
Yeah, I mean, you can create with the technology. It can solve a lot of these things, and you know, imagine a world where like Capitol Records and Sony and those big labels aren't the ones who control the rights to these big church IP, like for whether it's for Hillsong or Elevation or whoever, right?
Yeah.
And it's a really convoluted world, even with like the tracks and stuff like that. That's why another reason I'm not a huge fan of multi-tracks, the way they deal with tracks, is because they have these exclusive agreements with churches that like only we can distribute Hillsong's master tracks. I'm pretty sure that's still true. And to me, it's like, I don't know, it's just a really antiquated way of distributing property and paying the right people. But I think, I mean, I get why they do that, because like Hillsong wants to make sure their content is secured and distributed in the right way so people aren't pirating it. But I think this technology, maybe blockchain technology, could solve that, like in making sure people actually own the right things. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, it'd be an interesting concept. I mean, that's something that we obviously deal with a lot. Is like, yeah, how do we prove that we own the CCLI copyright to whatever we're, working with or whatever, and to have a better system to manage ownership of content. It's definitely something that I think would help.
Yeah.
Have people tried to pay you guys in Bitcoin yet?
I don't think so.
Support tickets.
Yeah,
I
no,
want
I'll
to
have to ask
start.
our
I want
billing
to set
team.
up Bitcoin for Churchfront to take payment. Because I really think it's going to be.
Yeah.
It's at what, $60,000 a coin right now, and I don't know. All the guys I follow on it who are smarter than me about macroeconomics are like, it could be multiple $100,000s
Yeah.
per coin. Even if a church is right now, like if a church is just sitting on a bunch of cash right now, to just put like, hey, let's put like, it's a savings account. Let's put instead of putting it in US dollars,
Yeah.
where they're just printing it like nonstop and
Right.
they're like deflating it, or it's inflating or whatever every year. Put a little bit of Bitcoin, and then who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe 5 years from now you'll have that $20,000 will turn into enough for a whole new AVL system, or LED wall.
Yeah. So to take it back to like the church use case that you were talking about before, like what do you think it would look like logistically for a church that would take Bitcoin as giving? Would that be something that they would have as kind of an investment for their church, or would they put it into a bank and convert it into U.S. currency, or like?
I would say it should be a reserve asset. Like that's what a lot of the big companies like Tesla, MicroStrategy, they're acquiring it as a treasury reserve asset. So I don't really think of Bitcoin as currency. Like we're not going to be
Sure.
paying a lot for things on a daily basis for that. But it's like digital gold. So for churches, it's always good for any organization to have some sort of emergency savings fund. So it's good and I think, but the problem is if that fund's in the US dollar, and you think about how much the monetary supply right now of dollars is just increasing like crazy.
Yeah.
That's like the worst thing you could have as a treasury reserve asset, because it's going to become worth less and less every single year.
Yeah.
So that's why I think just Bitcoin is like not like, I would just have it. And then, well, what's cool, and this is like, I'm really going down the finance rabbit hole. This is why I have my whole other YouTube
I had
channel
no
about
idea
it.
this site existed.
Oh, you haven't
Of
seen his
Jake.
other YouTube
Oh,
channel?
This
then,
is
yeah.
this is amazing.
So it's just because what's cool about assets is you can also, if you need cash, you can just borrow against those assets. Like you borrow against your home to get some cash, do a home renovation or whatever. I don't think there's any reason why churches couldn't do that as well. I don't know, but Oh, disclaimer: none of this is financial advice on this podcast today, guys.
Surprised you didn't have that lower third ready.
I know, right? Have that scrolling through. But I thought that was fun to see that come up. I think it's going to come up more and more over time. I saw that in that Facebook group. And I know a lot of us listening, a lot of people listening are interested in technology and church, and that could be an interesting collision of those two things here in the near future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. What's on our list here?
We have a new broadcast set up.
Yeah.
Video incoming very soon. Go to the Churchfront Instagram, because I think I took a picture of it, and then you could show everybody watching. But Ableton Live. So this is for South Fellowship, our church here. Yeah. And I just started here like 2 months ago, and we're kind of doing a tech booth makeover series.
Mm-hmm.
We're kind of going through one at a time. Are you able to? Oh, cool. You can pull it up. That's our studio. Oh, we're gonna talk about that too. But all right, so here is the setup. It's kind of hard to see in that picture, but it's like 2 monitors, 2 1080p 24-inch monitors, an M1 Mac Mini, and we've got the Logitech keyboard, Logitech mouse. I've got a Magic Mouse. I've got a way more detailed video about it, but so far so good. M1 Mac is stable.
Sweet.
It's looking good.
Base model M1 Mac running a broadcast mix.
It's crazy. And a Mac Mini, you said, right? You have like
Yep,
15
Mac
of
Mini,
them
yeah.
or something?
Yeah, that was the next topic. I've bought 6 M1 Mac Minis over the past 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's just because I just cannot bring myself to spend any more on a computer, especially because a lot of our computers, like, we're not really ever doing a bunch of intensive applications at one time.
Right.
But it's kind of like we were talking about earlier about dedicated hardware. It's like if one computer has one job, you don't have to get a super powerhouse machine.
Right.
But these things, like these little M1 Mac Minis, will run circles around, like this laptop right here is a 2019 MacBook Pro. I think it was a $2,500 laptop. Literally costs almost 4 times more, or about 3 times more, almost 4 times more than an M1 Mac Mini. And it just can't, it just suffers through video editing or stuff like that. We're shooting on 10-bit video all the time, so we would have to transcode to edit on that, where I can pull up the C300 10-bit video on the M1 Mac Mini base model, and it plays like butter.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, even the Airs, I think, right? Like the 13-inch Air.
That's
what
what
you have?
Yeah.
And that's like benchmark outperforming, high-end 15-inch models.
Yeah, no, and I see like so many churches right now are like, hey guys, I'm looking to buy a Mac, or they post in the Facebook groups like, hey, look at this new like tech booth computer we got. We just dropped $5,000-$6,000 on an iMac Pro. It's such a waste of money.
Which it's
Such
also
a waste of
discontinued now, by the way.
Yeah, that's like they're discontinuing
because
it.
they know there's no market for it anymore until they release the M1 iMac Pro.
Yeah, those would be cool.
Oh
And
my
those would be
gosh.
cool. And those are gonna be ridiculously powerful. I don't even know like why they're even gonna be necessary.
Yeah.
Like that much power is necessary at all. But because then I was like last year I was thinking of buying a Mac Pro, like a $10,000 machine,
Yep.
and I'm pretty sure I can be getting better results with a $700 machine.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Insane.
I've got my 15-inch, MacBook still hanging on from last year. It's the same story, waiting for that 15-inch M1 to come up.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The only downside, some of the compatibility stuff. We're still waiting on Dante support, things like that.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think within 3 more months, we'll have pretty much everything we need.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've been hearing renewed vision, or Pro Presenter's been working really well on M1s though.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Like I said, we tested it.
Yeah.
The full thing. I had 4 screens hooked up to that thing, with like a Decklink Duo or something like that, and we were running a broadcast mix through it, streaming with it.
Mm-hmm.
Worked fine.
What's the limitation? So I heard on like number of graphics outputs. Isn't there some weird
Yeah,
Two
two
limit on that?
2 native ones.
Okay. So you have to do something else in order to do
Get a
more.
Decklink.
A Decklink. Okay.
Get a mini monitor. Something
Decklink
like
and
that.
like a Sonnet
Yeah.
chassis.
Yep.
Yep.
Which I don't like working with native displays anyway.
Yeah.
On a computer.
Yeah.
Mm,
Like especially if you're doing a professional presentation environment.
Totally. Yeah.
Sure.
It's just glitchy. It's always glitchy on me.
Yeah, we just need better support. Like our studio, we built out a rig with a nice Decklink card and everything, and and then realized 99% of the time we're just going to be running Zoom on it, and we just need an input in through a crappy $10 Chinese capture card and then
Yep.
an output through HDMI.
That's right.
It's like, come on.
So close.
Do you think that you could ever replace the Resi Nooks with a Mac Mini, or does it not?
I mean, anything's possible. It's the fact that the why we chose the Nook was just because it was powerful and really easy to build on top of.
Yeah.
Obviously the Prism is kind of all custom, but then for the Nook it was like, hey, this is an existing hardware. We can easily build SDI capture into this and then put our own Linux, custom OS. Where with a Mac we'd have to drill into it to put an SDI port in.
Yeah.
So
Adam, show us your Stream Deck.
This is the thing.
Adam just got a Stream Deck to control, so watch when it happens when he presses the buttons.
Yeah, I can
So-
actually go to this camera and be like, boom.
Dude, as I'm thinking about, talk about challenge. We're using 3 different camera models for the stream right now, and
Yeah.
I think I was a little too excited when I was turning down the saturation on the GH5 angle.
So here's our main shot.
This
We've
is
got
6K.
Yep,
Yeah.
Blackmagic
I
Pocket
mean-
Cinema 6K.
you guys for all your the camera variations and lens variations, they do match pretty well.
Yeah, what's the lens on this one? The
24 prime.
Yeah, 24 prime on the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 6K. And then church front guys, we get the Canon C300.
Man, you could just see how much better that camera is than the others. Like 6K, C300, just the color, just beautiful.
I mean,
Yeah.
Canon color science is
Yep.
pretty much unmatched.
Yeah.
And then these guys get the GH5.
Trusty GH5.
Hey.
Yeah, I
Hey.
need to. I had to turn the saturation down, but I think it's down too much. I don't know, especially when I was looking on YouTube here.
It's all right. I just have really fair skin, so
Yeah, I guess so.
that cannot be helped.
Those Panasonics, man, though, they take a licking, man. They're
Yep.
good.
They're
good
handy cameras, yeah.
That's always been my favorite.
Yep.
Like not if I if I had a C300, would use that. But
Yeah, I mean, this is pretty just like, oh my gosh. This looks
Yeah.
so good.
Um.
Oh, we
What
didn't
was-
actually talk about the Stream Deck.
Oh yeah. Well. So yeah. Tell them what's happening.
So this only took me like less than an hour to set up, but yeah, downloaded the Stream Deck software and then downloaded the BitFocus companion
Mhm.
software, and then they actually have presets, so I can share my screen here and show you guys what it looks like. So yeah, within here, I just like went to my buttons and I went to these presets, and it's like Blackmagic presets. I have some macros and it like pulled in the names and everything. So if you like change the name on like what your program is, it'll change the name within the software and BitFocus, and you can use the Stream Deck for like anything. You can use it for ProPresenter, you can use it for ATEM stuff, you can use it for Spotify, Chrome, Ableton, like anything.
Yeah.
So I mean, my last church, the guy set it up for PTZ camera operation.
Oh wow, that's
So
brilliant.
it was like it zoomed to different cameras, and you could even have like arrows if you wanted to move it live. And yeah,
Jeez.
Talk about like a disruption, man. It's like Elgato, when they came out with this thing, I think they were just thinking, gamers would be using this
Yep.
or whatever. And yeah, who knew that like a button panel with 12 buttons that you could customize however you want would I mean that would be something that would be so needed, but it's awesome.
people like hardware. I love
Oh, yeah.
it because I'm like talking to you guys, and I can like
Yep.
keep my fingers on it,
Mhm.
and then
Mhm.
switch between them.
Yeah.
So,
We there's somebody built a companion Resi decoder module, so
Oh,
you can
cool.
you can control your decoder with that. But yeah, before that, people were just using the old X keys,
yeah.
external keypads and doing key commands and stuff like that. But this is a lot nicer way to do that.
I'll have to try that out.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. So the other thing, because I realized, dude, we've been talking. Time just goes by so fast when you're having fun. We've been talking for so long, but we have a couple more things I wanted to mention. We'll skip this one, the tech tour, because we can talk about that later. Well, we went to the Belonging Church in Nashville last week, and it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a really cool church. My favorite part is that during the worship services, there was no masks. And it was like
Wow.
amazing. It was like, oh
Wow.
my gosh, I can breathe, I can sing and hear myself.
No mask
I can hear.
required.
required.
You
Some
could wear
people
one
could,
if you
yeah.
wanted.
You can, no, you can't. Wear
Turn out your pockets.
it was just amazing. So, but overall, the church was amazing, and it was funny because like, yeah, it was Cody.
Carnes.
Yeah.
Cody Carne Asada
Yeah.
was leading.
I was about to say that. I was like,
we have our nicknames for different worship leaders. And that's his. But he was amazing, like super talented guy. I mean, then he was introducing a new song, and their tech systems were amazing. It was just like it was probably. I think it might be my favorite because it was a brand new building.
Yeah.
Have you guys, are you familiar with their, have you seen it yet? The
I've been to
space?
their old space, not their new
Okay,
one.
the new
Yeah,
space,
yeah.
like it's like the dream setup of a church
Yeah.
of like just the way they were to build, took this whole huge warehouse, converted it to just what they needed, and their whole production creative suite, the way it's like set up. It's kind of like how like we have ours right next to the worship center here. It's like the same thing with theirs, and just really cool stuff. So
Wow.
They've got that cool curved LED wall too right now.
yeah,
Yeah.
very nice LED
Mhm.
wall. Just really cool people. It was fun
Yeah.
talking to their team. Like, I don't know. It's like that at most churches, pretty much every church we go to. But it makes sense, like what all the cool stuff happening there, what God's
Mhm.
doing there. So
Mm.
But this guy, this teaching lead pastor, he is like a creative. He's like a producer, musician, engineer guy. So it's like
mhm.
he's just such a creative guy. It makes sense that like trickled down throughout everything they do.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, it's like you walk into that church, it's like the millennials' dream. Like it's like modern, chic style,
It's like
white, minimal. So it's great.
Well, yeah, you walk in, there's a coffee bar right across the front doors.
Yep.
So
that-
so millennial.
I miss coffee at church. That's all I'm saying.
You miss church coffee or
Yeah.
coffee at church?
Well, coffee at church.
We have coffee here.
But like,
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Red Rocks, they paused their coffee with COVID, and I think most churches have. That's
Yeah.
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 One more
Mhm.
thing. We spent the past couple days, really because we're getting ready for the shoot we're about to do with you guys, organizing the studio.
Looks great,
Mhm.
guys.
So
does.
So meta.
these are
I was gonna
it's
say
very meta.
Inception, man.
Just a couple shots I took today. I was like, man, a clean studio is a happy studio. So there's Chipper's office, my desk, which most people have seen already, Adam's desk, the new addition,
Yeah.
and then our musical corner there, and then this is we're most excited about this new toolbox.
Yep. New tool chest. It's a Cobalt
Ooh.
from Lowe's.
Well done.
Wow.
Not a sponsor.
No, it's just like we were gonna get a Craftsman and then started playing with this thing. It's like this is definitely good enough for the price.
Yeah, well, I like the powder coat black finish on that.
Yeah.
The Craftsmans are like
good.
either shiny black or shiny
Yeah.
red.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a Home Depot guy, so Husky's my brand.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah.
Those are all red though, aren't they?
No, I got a black one.
They're
Got a
black.
one. Nice.
You guys need the red ones for the firehouse.
That's true.
It's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
So that was fun. Pretty much full day yesterday.
No, we've spent
Yeah.
so much time trying to figure out this studio
Yeah.
because we want to have all the spaces just so and not have to. The biggest thing is not having to set up everything
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
time we do something.
Oh yeah.
So it also makes it very expensive because then we have to have like, multiple cameras, multiple lenses, multiple microphones, all that
Mhm.
stuff. But it's worth
Yeah.
it. The amount of time and headache that it saves is great.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
having this space for your podcast is brilliant. I mean, just sit down, turn things on, and,
Yep.
and you're ready to roll. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
Well
using
done.
these lights too as kind of your primary light and in like in the room too, just is cool vibe.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, guys, it's been fun.
Yeah.
Thanks for
Yeah,
coming by.
it's-
Thanks for sharing everything about Resi,
Yeah.
what it is,
Absolutely.
why it's awesome. Hopefully that helped a lot of people. I feel like we covered pretty much every question I saw in the comments about Resi specifically. You guys check out the links below the video. Go to resi.io or to learn more and reach out to their team. They'll help you figure out what the best plan you need for your church is. And then also feel free to go to worshipministryschool.com/apply to hop on a free strategy session with one of our coaches here at Churchfront. Adam's one of our coaches,
I am coach.
helping people every day. Have Adam. Adam can help you with all of the tech stuff at your church. Adam can even help you with the Resi stuff too.
I could help you with Resi. I could help you set up a Stream Deck.
I was just going to say,
Exactly.
I
Stream Deck.
mean,
all
Stream
that fun
Deck
stuff.
guru over
It
there.
was pretty self-explanatory.
Shh, just act like it's really difficult.
It's so hard. You need me.
Okay. Anyways, guys, thanks so much for watching. And as I'm talking, I'm like, how do we actually end this stream? Oh, I have to go in here, and I have to. I'm like, how do I actually go and end this stream? So I'm gonna go here. Actually, you can explain this to me because this is the first time I'm doing it this way.
Yeah.
Oh, I know what we do is we need to just, when I'm done talking, you just have to bring up the Churchfront Show has
Right.
ended thing on
Take the
ProPresenter,
logo and
then we'll just cut it out later. So thank you so much for watching, guys. Smash the like button, and we'll see you next time.
So yeah.